Endless Legend 2 just hit a full release and is the latest in the Endless series. There's 5 unique factions, more questing than you can shake a quest log at, and a lot to learn to bring you up to speed with the series. So why don't we go through a complete beginner's guide to get you started. So far there are 5 factions to choose from in this early access build. Each one shares all the same basic gameplay mechanics, but have something unique that optimizes them for a certain focus. You can tell what this focus is from the text below their portraits, but there's a few more details about each one that can help you decide who to play. The aspects have a strong focus on diplomacy. To help them with this, they can assimilate much cheaper and make use of the forced truce and forced treaty diplomatic actions. They're also very harmonious across all aspects of gameplay, benefiting from bonuses in combat when units are battling close together, alongside their strong choral preference for terrain. The Kin of Sheridan are the default choice when starting your first game, as they are the faction you play as in the tutorial opening. They're the most defensive faction with a strong focus on controlled military expansion. They're excellent at battling in a close-knit formation to keep all units healthy for as long as possible. The Last Lords are all about generating as much money as possible. They don't make any use of food, instead surviving on dust, so require a very strong economy to survive. To aid with this, they make more dust from any dust tiles, and come with several technologies to get income increasing from the first turns of the game. The Tahooks are the science-focused faction. They make use of observatories on mountain regions to grant them large amounts of vision and science. Their units are focused on range damage and using their advanced technology to their advantage, rather than up-close combat. And lastly, the Necrophage are the hive mind expansionists of the game. Their sole focus is on relentless expansion to feed their queen. They can only have one city, but its borders can far exceed those of any other single city in the game. For your first game, I'd suggest playing the tutorial to get to grips with the basics, but by all means, live your own life, blaze your own trail, you got this queen. No matter who you choose, when you load into the game, you'll be met with the same set of UI, and as with most games like this, it can be a little bit overwhelming. However, I assure you that a lot of this is quite niche, so you only really need to worry about a handful of little bits. Also, I'm going to jump slightly ahead in the game to go over all this, otherwise a lot of menus would be missing quite a lot of information and wouldn't really make sense. In the top left, you have something that changes depending on which faction you're playing. Essentially, everyone has a faction focus, and the more you play into that focus, the more this bar fills up, unlocking you various bonuses over the course of the game. Below this, you have a number of buttons that open various menus where you can get more information about your empire and the current game. At the top, you have the Empire Summary. From here, you can find everything you need to know about your specific empire, including their affinity traits and unique units and districts. If you want the details about doing all that reading, then the Empire Bonuses shows you everything extra you get and where it's coming from. The middle will show any council members you have, and once you've found a city, you'll have an overall empire approval stat. On the right, you have an overview of your population. This shows you all demographics and species in your empire and any bonuses they bring. And lastly, Empire Notables are special characters you can find over the course of the game who can be used as companions for heroes or counselors, depending on your needs. Below this, you have the Victory menu. From here, you can track your progress with the various victory conditions in-game. The Awakening victories are unlocked much later in the game once a certain story event happens. These are essentially specific goals aligned with a certain playstyle, such as controlling a lot of territory or researching a lot of technology. You can swap your focus at any time, so it's not super binding if you decide you'd like to change gears. On the right, you have the other fallback victory conditions. Score is simply adding up everything your empire has done, and whoever has the highest score at the end of the turn limit wins. Conquest requires you to eliminate all other empires, making you the winner by default. Next, you have the quest journal. This will keep track of any quests you accept over the course of the game and allow you to pin those you wish to keep closer track of. On the right, you have deeds. These are milestones that any empire can achieve, and whoever gets there first can claim rewards for their empire. Generally, it'll be hard to get all of these at once, so it's best to focus on one or two to ensure you get something. The All Cities and Camps menu obviously shows you a list of all cities and camps in your empire. You get a brief overview of each one, so you can check how they're doing at a glance. And lastly, the Protectorates menu is where you can view all pacified villages and bring them into your empire as protectorates. I'll cover this in more detail later, so don't really worry that this doesn't make much sense for now. In the bottom left, you can toggle the Grid and Yield overlay. Grid simply shows the hex grid of the world for easy navigation, and Yield shows what the output of each tile is, and this is how they would contribute to your cities if under your control. In the top right, you have all your resources. The main two with counters are Dust and Influence. Dust is essentially your general currency for the game. It can be used for everything from rushing construction to unit upkeep to trade deals, so it never hurts to have a hefty stockpile. Influence is also used for a range of things, such as expanding the borders of your empire and engaging in diplomacy. You can see your total for each of these alongside your income per turn, so can easily keep an eye on when you might need to up the production to stay in the green. Below this you have your luxury and other rare resources. These are less common resources found via these glowing spots around the world. Later they can also be harvested from deposits, but these are extremely rare. Luxury resources can be consumed to provide temporary buffs for your empire. The rare resources on the side can be consumed by later game buildings and units, or be used during diplomacy. Just below this you have the notifications, and here is where basically all news will appear for events in game. War declarations, hero level ups, and just about anything else you can think of will be displayed here to keep you informed. And lastly, in the bottom right we have the end turn button surrounded by a few extras. The hero circle is where you can view all heroes in your empire, and this is something I'll cover in more detail later. Research is of course how you access the research tree, and from here you can consume science production to unlock all manner of upgrades to your empire. Diplomacy is of course where you can engage in diplomacy with all known empires, and again, I'll cover this in more detail later. At the bottom you can cycle through all armies and settlements, or have all armies complete ordered moves for this turn. The last one just means if you order an army to move somewhere that will take multiple turns, they'll simply complete that ordered movement now, rather than waiting for you to hit end turn. Now that all of that is out of the way, you are ready to get to actually playing the game. When you launch into any campaign, you'll have no cities and a handful of units, normally a small army and a scout. Your first objective should be to explore your starting area and find a good spot for your first city. You're actually encouraged to do this rather than instantly settling, as the more turns you spend searching, the longer your city will benefit from a buff called Prepared Settlement. This provides a massive income boost for the number of turns spent preparing. You don't need to go crazy, but uncover a few tiles in each direction and use the Found City button to compare suitable locations that have the best production for you. It is going to vary based on your empire, but I'd advise looking for an area with high production in a range of different resources. That way you can progress everything at once, rather than specializing too early. Once settled, you can continue to explore the map. On your travels, you will almost certainly come across various minor factions. These are much weaker empires that you can interact with in a number of ways. The usual option is to parley with them. This opens dialogue, resulting in a quest that you can accept. If completed, this will pacify the faction, and this means they can't create new armies, and neither side will attack the other. This also opens up the potential to assimilate the faction as a protectorate. This gains you access to their unique units, councillors, and citizens, alongside more unique effects that scale with the number of pacified villagers of that type in your territory. If you're playing as an even remotely diplomatic empire, then this is normally the way you go. You can also choose to bribe these factions. This grants you instant access to one of their units and will only pacify that specific village. Parleying pacifies all villagers of that type in that area, so unless you just have dust to burn, this is normally not a long-term solution for these villagers. And lastly, you can of course choose to attack these villagers. This one is pretty straightforward. You attack them, and if you win the battle, the village is destroyed. I don't really see why you would do this unless you're playing as a particular empire, but to each their own. Once you've found your first city, you'll immediately want to get to work on making it even better. When a city is selected, you open up the city management menu, and whilst it seems overwhelming, it's actually pretty straightforward. In the top left, you have info about the city, such as the number of attached territories, military power if attacked, number of villages both pacified and not, and the food stores. Below this, the approval. This is essentially how happy the city is, and this is affected by certain districts and population assignments. At high levels it increases production, and at low levels it decreases, so try to keep it as high as you can at all times. In the middle you have your city name, which you can of course change, and next to this you can swap between all cities for easy navigation. Below this you have the output of the city, and this can be in up to 5 different kinds. The exact resources your city can make use of varies from faction to faction, so this may depend on who you're playing. Food is used to feed and grow your cities. Any population you have will consume food, so you'll need to produce an excess before your population can grow. Industry is used to build and create new units, and the more you have, the faster things move. Dust is of course your money, so the more a city generates, the more income it will provide. Science is used to research new technologies, and of course influence is the other currency we mentioned earlier. Below this you have the population and how close you are to getting a new one, and below that you have where each of your pops are assigned to work. Lastly, on the right you have your construction queue. Here you'll be able to see anything the city is working on and reorder it if you wish. If nothing is being created, you can also choose to convert industry into other resources. Along the bottom you have buttons which allow you to perform these 6 actions needed to improve your cities. Foundation allows you to claim more tiles for your city. Not only does this add the resource of that tile to the city output, it opens up more space for building more districts. Speaking of which, districts highlights all buildable tiles. Clicking on one shows you the options of what can be built there. Each district has a different output or effect, and, in general, prefer to be built on tiles with a matching output. So your industrial districts want to be built on industry tiles for greater output, and so on. Improvements are enhancements to existing districts and allow you to improve the output of your city without having to take up more space. Units allow you to create more units to send out into the world for scouting and combat. Population allows you to assign your pops the different roles in your cities. Certain pop types prefer certain roles and will have an improved production when performing certain jobs. As you assimilate villagers into your empire, you'll unlock new types of pops who have different specializations, so it can be useful to assimilate a few different kinds so you have all your bases covered. That said, don't be afraid to just assign them where needed, even if it means being less optimal. And lastly, landscaping allows you to improve any barren tiles in your borders to increase their outputs and make them a lot more useful to own. As for how to actually build up your cities, it's going to be a big fat it depends, but I can give you some pointers at least for the early game. Brand new cities can't go wrong focusing on industry and food just for a little while. More industry means whatever you build will take less time, so it improves everything faster in the long run. More food means more pops, which means more of any kind of production you fancy. After this, it depends on the focus of your empire and what exactly is going on in the game. So if you're playing very science focus, obviously build science. If you're doing lots of battling, then maybe you want some more units. If you want to do lots of trading, then more dust. You get the idea. You also can't go wrong colouring in all owned tiles with synergistic districts to empower the lands to their full potential. As the turns go on, you'll start to notice the weather change. Whilst things start out nice enough, eventually a monsoon will start. This massively increases income from battling and unit regen, but reduces all vision range. It's a great time to do some battling to take advantage of the added income, but be wary of attackers coming out from seemingly nowhere. After the monsoon passes, the waters of the world will recede, opening up more land on the map. This area is often full of valuable resources, so it can be worth saving up influence so you have enough to form a new camp and a city on any particularly valuable lands. Diplomacy is pretty straightforward. Once you meet another empire, you can choose to interact with them from the diplomatic menu. After selecting an empire, you have the option of sending them a series of treaties and declarations. In treaties, you exchange information on maps and research, as well as non-aggression pacts and even alliances. Essentially, if you want to be friends, this is where you'll spend most of your time. Most of these will cost either dust or other resources to get through, depending on your faction's opinions of each other. Declarations are how you either open or close your borders and declare war. These cost influence and aren't exactly to be refused, so are usually more hostile with the exception of open borders. Wars can be declared for no reason or justified by exceptionally low public opinion, which I'll come back to shortly. Propositions are offers they've sent to you, and all can be viewed here for convenience. For every empire, you'll both have an opinion of each other, and this affects the cost of declarations. Opinions can be improved by signing treaties and not attacking each other, and obviously being hostile in any way will decrease the opinion. Speaking of which, once war is declared, you'll be able to attack other empires' armies and settlements, just as they'll be able to attack yours. Warfare is pretty simple in-game. You want to accumulate as much war score as you can whilst ensuring your enemy earns as little as possible. You do this by winning battles against their armies and taking their camps and cities. To end the war, you either need to wipe out all of their cities, or you can choose from 3 kinds of surrender. White peace is the most straightforward, where both sides stop battling with no tributes either way. Surrender demand is the same, but the enemy has to give you a significant amount of dust as tribute, and surrender offer is the opposite, so you give them dust. No matter what, you'll be doing plenty of battling. When 2 armies cross paths, they can challenge each other to a battle. The defender can retreat at the cost of a significant chunk of damage, but if they choose to battle you, you have 2 options. Instant resolution automatically calculates the outcome of the battle, showing you the damage and casualties on each side. Manual battle instead allows you to fight the battle yourself, and, depending on your skill, this can result in less damage for your own troops and a more definitive victory. Battling in-game is also fairly straightforward. Units can either be melee or ranged, and you pretty much just attack the enemy until they're all gone. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that with positioning, unit placement and synergies, but the first part applies to every game with battles, and the second varies from faction to faction, so there's no one size fits all. Try to use melee troops to keep enemies from getting to your ranged units, as they are often a lot weaker to damage, and be sure to make use of heroes and their abilities as much as you can. The more heroes battle, the more you can upgrade them and unlock all kinds of abilities for added damage, defense, healing, and so on. Once unlocked, be sure to use them whenever possible to maximize their value in combat. I know it seems like I've sped through this section, but it really is very straightforward, especially with such small armies, so as long as you build a mixed army and upgrade heroes and units whenever possible, you should do just fine. But for now, that is everything I have for this beginner's guide to Endless Legend 2. There's a lot more to learn, but the only real way to do that is through playing. So go on out there and craft your own legend, whether that's as a skilled diplomat and world leader, or an all-consuming hive mind. I don't judge. Let me know in the comments which faction you are most excited to give a go when the game finally drops. Like the video if you did, subscribe for more, and if you want more beginner's guides, then why not check out this one, all about Captain of Industry. If you like factory games with insane amounts of detail, as well as train sets, I really think you'll enjoy it.